everybody. Welcome into another episode of Origins. I am Sean Hamill, and today I've got Matt Mulcock on the show. Matt is the CEO, Senior Advisor, Head Person in Charge. Do you have any other titles on your parking space at Dentist Advisors?
I don't think so. I think that janitor or whatever needs to be done. Yeah.
Right. So Matt
Yeah.
is the CEO at Dentist Advisors, which is probably one of the premier financial advisory firms that work specifically with dentists. I know a lot of you probably know Reese Harper. That's how I first had heard of Dentist Advisors, and then Matt and I got introduced a few months ago at this
Yeah.
point, which, ADM, we're obviously super proud to be a sponsor of Dentist Advisors and the partnership type stuff that we do. But Matt, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Definitely, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. It still feels very weird when you introduce me as CEO. I genuinely don't feel totally comfortable with it yet. I'm getting used to it. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm the same way. It's super weird to see managing partner, it is weird, especially when in my situation, I mean, the company's done better than I really ever imagined. And so it's cool to get to do stuff like this because we have folks like yourself on who have a huge influence in the industry. And we just talk about origin stories and how you got to where you are, which I'm super curious. I know, reading your bio, you've got that investment background. How did you get started with Dentist Advisors? How did you get into financial advisory, pathway of financial advice, being a financial advisor? How'd you meet Reese? Take us on that journey. How did all that come to be?
Yeah, definitely. A very normal path. I started out in fitness, so naturally, that's a natural path over to financial planning. No, but that is actually real. I thought after high school and then failed attempts to play college football. What stuck from that was my love of fitness and just working out and as some people will say, maybe being a bro. I don't know. But I've always loved it. And so, and I always wanted to have a positive impact, like have work that had meaning, right? And for me, the gym and fitness had a lot of meaning and, health and all that. I was like, this is really cool. It's just kind of as a natural thing. So I pursued that for a long time and I did it. I did it for a long time. For years, it was, training and doing powerlifting stuff and coaching and really liked it. And then I think I grew up a little bit and realized that, I had to pay the bills and I got married and I was just like, all right, I got to figure something else out. So long story short, kind of started looking for something a little bit more serious that maybe had a better path, a little bit more of a clear path. And a friend of mine, I started dabbling in some real estate investing stuff, and did that for about a year or so. And was just kind of messing around, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And a friend of mine called me one day, knew I was kind of looking or that I was always exploring different stuff. And I was pretty young. I was in my early-ish 20s, mid-20s. And he called me. He says, hey, man, I've been working at Fidelity Investments for a while. You should check it out. And I was like, I am not I have no experience in any of that. What do you mean? He's like, dude, just show up. They hire you in these like classes, almost literally like getting hired or almost like starting college. Right. And they train you, they give you all your licenses, whatever. So I just gave it a shot. I was like, Fidelity is a great company. I've always been interested in this kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. So let's give it a shot. And I applied as I'm not kidding you, Sean. It was the lowest of the low. Literally, I made a joke earlier about the janitor. I was lower than the janitor, right? It was like customer service rep. You couldn't even when we got there and we were started taking phone calls, they were like, because you're not licensed, they call it pre-licensed. You can't say anything. So all you can do is transfer people. So I could say, hi, I'm Matt from Fidelity Investments. Where can I transfer you basically before you get your what's called a Series 7 license and a Series 63, all these licenses to be, actually what you'd think of as a traditional stockbroker, you have to go through this test. So I got hired there, did all these tests, trained, was there, fortunately passed all the tests, and then just kind of started moving up from there. Worked at Fidelity for 5 years. During that process, my wife got into PA school, physician assistant school out in California. I was very fortunate to move out from Salt Lake City, where I was at the main kind of what they call a phone site there from Fidelity. And I moved out to a branch in Southern California. And that right there is where my job turned into a career. I started meeting with people face to face as opposed to over the phone. I was meeting with probably, I'd say 5 to 6 people a day, 5 days a week, just literally just nonstop. I was able to get my CFP out there with certified financial planning designation. And it became real. I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. This whole idea of having that positive impact on something that matters fit very much with this as well. And I just fell in love with it. And so, was able to fortunately find a lot of success at Fidelity and move into some roles that got me a lot of great experience. When my wife graduated, unfortunately, my mom got sick simultaneous to my wife graduating. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer, which not forced, I chose right away. It was like a no question. I quit my job and was coming back to Utah, and I was like, I'll just figure it out. And in the interim or during that process, I got a reach out from a recruiter that said, "Hey, you should look at this Reese Harper and Dennis Advisors." And fast forward a few months, I was able to meet them. They said they saw something in me. I saw amazing things in them and the team and what they were doing. Now that is over 5 years ago. So I've now been with DA for 5 years, holding various roles from financial advisor, senior advisor, and then about 5, 6 months ago was able to or was offered the position of CEO, and here we are. So it's been maybe more than you bargained for, Sean. I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I thought I wanted to work in finance too. So I actually got recruited out of high school by this company here in Kansas City called DST, which is just like a brokerage house that you figure out what trades you want, and we're the minions that put the trade through. Did that, wasn't a fit, just wasn't me. Sitting in a cubicle all day, like, just wasn't me. And so there was another company here called the Mutual Fund Store, because I really thought I was going to be an
I know
advisor.
that. Yeah.
And so Adam Bold and that whole crew, they were here, and I didn't really have any kind of value that I would bring to them. And so I basically called the CFO and bugged him for months. I was like, give me a job, give me a job, give me a job. And he hired me to clean their stock rooms and to file paperwork. And that's how I started.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, man, I worked my way up and thought I was going to be a CFP too. But man, sitting in a cubicle all day was just not for me. And
I did that for years. It was not fun. Yeah.
Ended up on a whole different journey, playing music and doing that stuff. And that's really where I found my love for marketing. But yeah, financial advisory stuff, it just has that allure and appeal. And especially, finding that connection with Reese, because he really was a trendsetter in dental financial advisory. I mean, he was the voice of, dentists need specific advice, and you should look at things a specific way for your profession. And I remember seeing his content years ago, and it was really, really good. And then I know he's got a bunch of different things he's doing, but just to see the company get to where you guys are at now. And I really had noticed a lot of the stuff that ADM was sponsoring, like you guys were right there next to us on the marquee. And then of course you hired Spencer, who's the man. Good old Spencer.
Amazing. Shout out to Chip. Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, Spencer's
one of the best
awesome
hires we've ever made, by the way. He's unbelievable. Yeah.
He really is. I mean, I don't know him in that capacity, but just meeting him with regard to Crown Counsel, just a phenomenal human being, and seeing what he's been able to do too. I mean, it's funny how, this financial path brought you here, and it kind of kicked me out the other way. But just the way that things end up.
It's kind of crazy how that works out. Yeah.
So you're in Utah, you met Reese, and you started working your way up through the ladder. I mean, was working with dentists on your radar? Was being a CEO on your radar? Did it all?
I wish I could say this was all planned, Sean. I honestly, so it's even funny. My wife, so after Reese offered this to me, and I can go into detail of kind of what's happened if you want with Reese, or why this is even the case. But when he offered it to me, again, I can't remember the exact time frame. It's probably 5-ish months ago. First of all, I was kind of blown away. I was like, whoa, like honestly, like, what are we talking about? I had to take like a week to even like consider this or take it on, because I'll be totally candid. Following someone like Reese, who I look up to so much and admire so much, and he's done
He has such a great reputation in dental. If you talk
Yeah,
to
he's
anybody about it,
incredible.
yeah,
He's incredible. And so I always have felt, for better or for worse, I've kind of been living in his shadow, and I probably will forever, and that's totally okay. If I can live in someone like that shadow, then I'm doing all right, right? And I like to joke that I'm a professional coattail rider. I basically just ride coattails, and I've been riding Reese ever since he offered me this position even 5 years ago when he took a chance on me. Um, but when Reese offered me the position, and I, after some time thinking about it, I accepted. And my wife was like, after a few days, I was kind of reeling. I was kind of like in shock a little bit, and kind of thinking like, what's going to happen here? And it just, again, literally shock. And she said one night, she goes, should we be celebrating this? And I was like, I guess, like, because to your point, I wasn't shooting for this. I wasn't like, I'm going to go be the CEO of this company. And to your question about working with dentists, I wish I could say for the dental people out there, like, yes, this has always been my dream. Like, no, it wasn't. I didn't even think about it. Why I chose dentist advisors, and luckily they chose me, was the people and the fact that Reese, from day one, I remember this day still. I was my very first visit to the office to look through, to meet everyone, and it was like my final interview to make sure that I wasn't a weirdo. They still haven't determined that yet. Reese told me, he said, Matt, we are different. We sell with education. And that was so refreshing and so new to me in the space I was in. uh, we sell with education, and I've tried to carry that mantle on, now, and double and triple down on that. Like, we just want to add value with education, and then if people want to hire us, great. We think we can add a lot of value. But that's what got me. We There's a lot of unique reasons we work with dentists, and I've understood that over the years now why. But really, we just work with people that happen to be dentists, and we just want to add as much value as we can. And that's why I chose Dentist Advisors and how I ended up where I am.
well, that's awesome. And I love the story of you becoming the CEO, and it really wasn't on your radar, because I mean, I feel the same way, and I know that a lot of the doctors listening to this podcast feel the same way. They get thrust into the CEO position and feel completely ill-equipped, and so the recurrent theme in these episodes has been how many successful people like yourself are on the show, and they all say, yeah, it's super vulnerable, it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things I wasn't bargaining for. And just for other doctors to hear that it's okay to be vulnerable as a CEO, it's tough to be a
Yeah.
business owner, there's a lot of things you get thrust into that you never counted on or never planned on. And it's always important to find the right advisory team, whether that's a financial advisor, whether it's a consultant, whether it's a CPA, whether whatever it is, a marketing advisor. Just knowing that those people too have the same vulnerabilities and have the same feelings of, wow, like I kind of don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel that way all the time. And of course, it's hard to be raw like that. It's hard to, I'm not going to tell my team that, but I might tell certain team members or just get their
I told my
feedback.
team that.
But it's
I
just,
did. Sean, I told my team that. I did. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. We'll figure this out together. I don't know. I just feel like the world would be a better place if we all just like admitted that we're all just shooting from the hip and trying to figure this out as we go. All of life, you know?
yeah, I definitely share that with certain team members, but
Yeah.
most of my team, I mean, we just, it's like a family. You just have a good time, rally around a
Yeah.
common cause and stuff. But I appreciate you sharing that so much. And I'm curious, what would you say really is, in terms of stepping into the CEO role? What was the thing that you felt maybe was your biggest area of growth, or what made you feel most vulnerable stepping into it?
Um, yeah, it's a really good question. I think, like, seriously, if I'm being totally honest, just like knowing what a CEO does, like, I'm not kidding you. I was like, okay, CEO, what does a CEO do? Because I've kind of like gradually and naturally taken over more leadership roles here. I was the first advisor they hired outside of Reese and Ryan. I'm kind of like the little stepbrother that no one knows about. I make jokes when I speak sometimes. It's like, hey, you guys all know Reese and Ryan, and they raise their hand, like I'm the other guy. So, but it kind of naturally started happening of just I think just my approach to the team, my approach to genuinely want to help like the team members, and like as we started hiring other younger advisors, I really wanted to mentor them and just help them. I just genuinely wanted to. So I kind of started naturally taking on leadership positions at Dentist Advisors. But it was really, really weird. It was a really weird concept when you put a title to it. it was like I was already kind of one of the main leaders here. But when you title it, I was like, I genuinely don't know what a CEO does. I'm not kidding you, Sean. I was going on Twitter, I was going on Google, and just trying to like get a better sense of like, okay, what is the role of a CEO? But I will say, I've kind of let that go a little bit of just this idea of like it should be anything, and I'm just trying to be myself, and I'm trying to focus on. I think right now, if I had to define it, and not saying this is right, this is how I maybe make myself feel better. I'm like, I want to keep an eye on culture, make sure I'm focusing on culture and vision, and I'm making sure everyone knows what that culture and vision is, keep that intact, that we're all rowing in the same direction, and I'm just hiring good people, and I'm just letting them do their thing, and I'm not getting in their way. Like I feel like if I can do that and make sure that everyone knows I love them and I care about them, and I'm here for every one of them, I feel like that's what a CEO should do, uh, maybe at the broad level. But so again, I guess to succinctly answer your question, what's the most vulnerable I got, or what was it specifically? Everything, like the whole thing, the whole thing.
Well, I feel the same. I mean, it is just getting everybody rowing in the same direction. It took me a long time because it's like, well, I don't play golf, so like, what am
Yeah,
I supposed to
yeah.
do, right?
Neither
And
do I, and I'm a financial advisor. Oh my gosh, I'm an embarrassment.
then you kind of feel like you got the Bob's interview, and that's an Office Space reference for anybody that doesn't know. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
what would you say you do here? And I'm like you, like we've hired some incredible people, like. And so they take so much off your plate that you're like, okay, like what am I going to do now?
yeah,
I think.
yeah. Totally.
But that just kind of just being that rock of here's what we stand for, here's who we are, and it took me a little bit to learn what you said about getting out of the way,
Yep.
like being able to trust people and step away and things like that. But it always makes me feel better to meet and talk to people like you that the journey is so similar because a lot of times it's isolating, and I think
It's lonely. Yeah.
and dentists fall victim to this too because they're high achieving. They're used to not only hitting their goals but crushing their goals. Like getting into dental school is really hard. Like it's really impressive,
Yep.
and all of these things. And then being a business owner is so vulnerable, and just another person affirming like it is lonely, it is hard. You do feel like what the heck am I doing sometimes, or I'm ill
Yep.
equipped to be running a company. And so just being able to affirm that for doctors is huge. And it's not something people like to talk about, of course. It's also not a
Yeah.
super sexy topic for a podcast. But I think there is comfort in knowing that the people that you look up to in this industry, I'd love to have Reese on sometime and figure out how
Yeah.
he ended up doing what he's doing, or doing what he done. I
Yeah.
do want you to kind of go into what he's doing now because
Yeah.
I really
I
don't
chose.
understand what it is that
Yeah,
he's doing.
I would love to tell you about Reese and what he's doing and how I like part of the reason why I'm here is because it was time for him. He felt like it was time to move forward with his new endeavor. So just for some quick origins on this, when I got here, Reese is such a genius, innovator, forward thinker. Reese started a podcast, the Dennis Money Show. We've now been going for almost 8 years now straight. Never missed a week for 8 years. And he started that. It was his idea from the beginning when people were like, what are you talking about, a podcast? Right now, like podcasts are very mainstream and very normal. At the time, people were like, what are you doing? But one of the things he invented, along with Ryan, his co-founder, and Jacob and some of the original team members, was a financial planning process that we call Elements. It's a framework for delivering financial advice and organizing our advisors to deliver advice within these like really easy to understand categories, and what we call financial health indicators. So he and the team invented this proprietary approach, right? Trademarked it, created it, and we were delivering it. When I got here, we were delivering that as part of our offering. Along the way, Reese's genius, crazy brain decided, oh, this could actually, and we started to get some interest from advisors. We get a lot of advisors who listen to our podcast, who are always snooping around on our website, and we love it. We're like, hey, we're here to, growth mindset. We're here to help if you have any questions. So we've talked to advisors along the way. So he started to realize, oh, this is actually like something we're getting a lot of interest in, or people are interested in this. And so he literally started a tech company within the financial planning firm of Dennis Advisors, and the tech company was called Elements.
We brought in a whole new team. And literally at one point, it was pure chaos, Sean. It was like the only word I can use is chaos. We had a whole tech team, our planning and like our current team that we have at Dennis Advisors all as one. And we were trying to kind of build both at the same time. That did not go well, as I'm sure you can imagine. What is the whole saying? An eagle chasing two rabbits ends up catching neither. So he was trying to chase two rabbits. He realized very quickly he had to separate. So he separated the companies. So now he is off CEO of Elements, a software company. They've landed their Series A. They're off selling that software as an app to advisors to help spread the good word of Elements. He just realized he couldn't do both. And so it was time to move on from. So he's our chairman currently right now at Dennis Advisors. He and I still talk a lot about strategy and high level stuff, but we've been managing Dennis Advisors day to day. When I say we, I mean Ryan, myself, Justin, Jacob, our whole team. We've been managing it really without the day to day stuff with Reese for 2 years now. He's been building Elements. So he's off in the exciting world of tech right now.
Wow, man, that is a tough market, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
And is that innovation? I mean, what is it that drew you to Dennis Advisors? Obviously, your skill set, even though going back to Utah, there's probably any number of places you could have worked. Why did you pick Dennis Advisors?
Yeah, I think innovation, for me, it's really simple. It was the team. Like I said this when I kind of gave my quote unquote acceptance speech, right, to the whole team. And I was telling them that I didn't know what I was doing. One of the things I said is I fell in love with this team from the second I got there. And I truly mean that. Like I met the whole team and just how genuine everyone is and how just down to earth. And the financial space, Sean, as you probably know with your experience doing it, it can be filled with egos, right? It can be filled with really competitive, just egomaniacs and a lot of insecure people, let's be honest. And I lived in that world on and off, right, for about 5 years. And Fidelity is a great company, but I got some exposure to that. So when I met Reese, I met the team and just their approach, their genuine nature, their no ego. It's one of our main focuses is hiring people with no ego, team focused, truly trying to do what's right. Not saying we always succeed, we screw up all the time, but that's what brought me here, and that's why I'm here. That's why I stay. That's why I'm helping build this thing. Is because how amazing the team is. And we've added people along the way. We're up to now over 20 employees, and every single one of them is incredible. So team is by far the easy answer on that one.
So what's next for you guys as a team? Where's Dennis Advisors going? I mean, you've got obviously the Element software is separate, but where is Dennis Advisors specifically headed?
Yeah, it's a good question. So our focus right now is just being the best financial planning and investment management firm for dentists, right? We've been very tempted over the years, as many businesses are naturally, to try to get too broad or add different things or acquire different companies. And we've been tempted. We keep coming back to our central purpose, which is, every dentist deserves financial peace of mind. And we want to be the group that does that. And we want to be, our actual purpose statement is we connect, educate, and empower people. So that's our focus. And so we've always been focused on organic growth, not doing it through acquisition. We're always doing it through content. We are right now so many exciting things that we're rolling out, whether it be this year or next year around content. So specifically doing masterclass series, like education content through masterclass series. We are doing mastermind groups. So we're going to start connecting dentists all over the country, 10 to 15 per group where we'll facilitate. And it's going to be dentist led. We're going to be hiring dentists to be mentors for these masterclass or our mastermind groups. So a lot of stuff with content. We have an event coming up. I'm going to get in trouble probably from my marketing team, but we're doing an event in June of 2024 called the Dentist Money Summit that we are so excited about. It's going to be in Park City, Utah. A lot of details to come on that, but that's what we're doing. We're trying to double down on education, double down on adding as much value as possible through those channels. We have been growing year over year. It's never stopped. And that's our goal, is to keep doing it and really own the dental space within this niche of financial planning for dentists by doing it the right way.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about the Money Summit too. That's that or Dentist Advisor Summit, Money Summit, whatever you guys end up calling it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some dentist something money summit. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's cool.
I think we're doing Dentist Money Summit. I think it's going to be Dentist Money Summit. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's in Utah in the summer, so it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Park City.
But it's always good, and I always like to encourage doctors to, where it's not just a transactional relationship, like a company that's got a comprehensive, well-rounded. It takes a village. We're here for you in a multitude of ways.
Yep.
Providing education and things. It's such a great way to do business, and it seems like. I wouldn't say that it happens often, but it seems like the companies that really do that provide that additional value outside of just what the service they're providing really seem to do well in the dental space. So it's awesome to see Dentist Advisors going up that road, especially with the innovation and things that you guys have already brought to the market. I remember watching Reese's show when I first started because I got in this helping a friend essentially, but I didn't really know a lot about dental. So I just kind of perused Dentistry IQ. And then, Reese was one of the people that him and Howard Ferran, like you tune into those podcasts.
Yeah.
But it was so foreign back then. And then now, you put dental podcast in and there's thousands of them. So,
oh yeah, so many. It's kind of wild.
But you guys got the OG for sure. And you guys have a really nice studio. I like the studio a lot.
Yeah, we've done I don't say we, the team has done a great job on the studio. We share it with Elements now because they've got a new show that they've been doing for a couple of years. And then we use it for the Dentist Money Show. Whenever Ryan's in town, Ryan and I do a lot of shows over Zoom, but Ryan comes in town a few times a year, probably once a quarter. And we try to record a few shows in the studio, and it's really fun. It's fun being in there and feeling like kind of legit. You're like, oh yeah, I'm in this like super cool studio. If you kind of feel like Joe Rogan or something, but it's pretty cool.
You guys have the student loan one. It's Thursday, I think.
Thanks for the plug. Yeah, we are doing a special webinar. So I just did an interview with Travis Hornsby on student loans. I think it came out last week. If you don't know Travis Hornsby, studentloanplanner.com, he's fantastic. This has been a huge thing for dentists right now with all the changes happening and student loans coming back on. So we built a whole landing page. If you go to dentistadvisors.com/loans, you'll go to a landing page there. It's all education. You can sign up for a call if you want to talk to us. It connects you to all the content there. It also, to your point, Sean, it gets you connected with the special webinar we're doing. It's free for everyone. You can come. I want to say, dang it, it's the 16th, like you said. Yep, 16th. We're going to be doing that webinar. It's just going to be answering questions, doing a little presentation on what's happening with student loans right now.
Well, it's huge. I get asked about it a lot. With ADM, I try to do the same thing with providing value outside of just marketing. But we also work really closely with Dave Rice and Ignite DDS, which is a lot of students too. Yep. And this issue comes up a lot. So I'll make sure this episode will air after that, but we'll make sure to ramp up. And if it's on YouTube or whatever, we'll put all the links to everything in the show notes for this. Well, Matt, I can't thank you enough. I have one more question for you that I ask everybody on the show.
Uh-oh.
It's not as hardcore as it sounds, but I always like to encourage people to talk about the books that they're reading or the books that changed something in them in terms of how they operate, how they are entrepreneurially, maybe something that changed them just as a human. I know for me, I always talk about Atomic Habits is probably my favorite book.
That was going to be my book, John. Oh, no. I got another one. We're good.
The other one's Building a Story Brand. It's a phenomenal book by Donald Miller. Yeah. But I always ask everybody, what's on your reading list? What are you reading now? Or what's something that you just recommend to everybody in terms of something to pick up and read?
I love this question, and I'm not kidding you. I was like, as you're going through that, I'm like, okay, what are some books that fit this bill? Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books of all time. The practicality that James Clear has in that approach with that book, and I've heard so many interviews with him. He's kind of like my sensei. He doesn't even know it, and he wouldn't care if I said that, but he's amazing. I would say, so I love reading. I haven't been reading as much lately because of just nature of the beast right now. It's happening. But the book that comes to mind outside of that, surprise, surprise, has to do with money. The best financial book I've ever read is called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. My guess is a lot of people out there have heard of this. Morgan Housel been listening to his, or sorry, I shouldn't be listening. He just started this podcast, but I've been reading his blog for years. It's called he writes for the Collaborative Fund. If you want to check that out, he is a phenomenal writer, and his book I recommend to everyone. We actually gave it out as gifts, I think last year, to our clients. Either way, it's a fantastic book. It is so practical. It is so real, full of stories, so easy to digest, and just his perspective is so down to earth. Psychology of Money is definitely one of my favorite books ever.
Do you get the James Clear Thursday email?
321.
321.
Yep.
Anybody listening to the show that doesn't, go sign up for that newsletter. And then there's an influencer on Instagram that I love to follow. His name's Ben Meir. He has fantastic content too. But that and 321 are probably two of the most valuable resources ever. And it's every single week. Like I'm like, wow, like it's like hanging out with James Clear must be just crazy.
Amazing.
Just all the
time.
He's
incredible. He's incredible. Every time I read that newsletter, because it's so simple, right? And I love quotes. And he's so good. Him and Morgan Housel have a superpower of distilling complex content or complex topics into something that is like leads to, every time I read that, it's like this aha moment, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the best quote I've ever seen. And then the next week it rolls out, I'm like, that's even better. So yeah, 321 is the best newsletter out there, I think.
He'd be a great keynote speaker for Utah.
Yes, he is on our list. He's a little pricey, I think. He's a little pricey.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe you could get like his younger brother or something, or his daughter.
Yes, exactly. So no, Jay, we just did a planning meeting the other day, and he was one of the top on my list. We would love to. I just don't know if we can afford him right now.
Well, and Mike Michalowicz is one of my favorite speakers too. Have you read it?
Is that Profit First?
Yeah, Profit First, and then he wrote like Get Different, which is it's one of the most underrated marketing books out there.
Okay.
Because he's like Toilet Paper Entrepreneur Surge. I mean, he's written so many.
Yeah, he's written a bunch. Yep. That'd be a good one too.
Get Different is such a good book too, just in terms of market differentiation, finding, you eloquently put where you kind of find your why in the space, and then make sure everybody's rowing in the same direction. His book is a really, really good one that nobody really ever talks about, but it's a really, really
I'll have to check that out.
Marketing book. Well, he wrote all these amazing entrepreneurial books, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to write a marketing book." And
by the way,
nobody noticed it.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I really appreciate you sharing your
origin. Of course, Sean.
Story. Can you let everybody know how to get a hold of you or how to get a hold of Dentist Advisors if they want to learn more?
Yeah, definitely. Best way, dentistadvisors.com. I don't know if I should. I mean, I'm happy to do it. My email, just pretty easy, matt@dentistadvisors.com. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Or if I don't know the answer, which is decently likely, I will get you someone on my team. But dentistadvisors.com. I have to emphasize that because a lot of people call us dental advisors. It's dentist, singular, dentistadvisors.com. All of our content's on there. You can book a consultation if you ever want to talk to us. We're really, really nice. So if you ever want to talk to one of our advisors, let us know.
Awesome. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Take care.